Hi guys. I'm not in the best mood. Um, I think this has gone live. I always struggle with that because it doesn't always show me that it's going live. But yeah, basically not in the best mood today. Um, I got scammed by one of those. I don't know what they're called. Bank telephone scams last night. And there's some lessons to be learned from it and some things, but I just kind of want to share my experience. So mostly so people don't also fall for this, although maybe you won't be as idiotic as me to fall for this kind of thing. And also, I guess, just to sort of share a sort of a growth mindset perspective, I suppose. So they called me, these people, they scammed me for whatever. Very like, I was like, who, grilled them. They asked me if I was this person, and I said, who's calling? And I was like, well, can you verify who you are? They said they were calling from my bank, Lloyd's. And they said they could, and they got me to check on the internet for the number that they used, and the number was a legitimate Lloyd's number. Like, so they were calling me from Lloyd's, essentially. Like, the number was actually from the Lloyd's Bank. And so that obviously put a lot of trust in me. I was like, okay, well that's legitimate. I get calls from my bank and I get fraud prevention from my bank, and they're basically calling me from as fraud prevention. And they said, I'd entered my details into a fake Royal Mail website to retrieve, to give money for whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, I actually remember doing that. I remembered I remember I was rushing to get coffee. Classic. Obviously, I wasn't in the right mind frame because I needed a coffee. So I was rushing to get coffee and I was waiting for a parcel. And I got this thing saying, you need to pay for the postage of this package because whatever. And I was like, oh, God, fine. Okay, this is, let me just pay for this. I need to pay for the package to get delivered to me via Royal Mail. And I remember I entered my bank details into this thing, and like I remember thinking like, this is weird. Why would I enter my bank details? Like, maybe red lights should have gone off there. And this was like, I don't know, a week ago. And I suppose I have this real faith in I have this faith because I always get these like warnings come up from Google that's like, someone's trying to hack into your account. I'm like, well, thank you, Google, for protecting me. I feel I have this real sense of security that my stuff is quite safe online, because there's so many. I'm like, if I enter this, there's so many barriers for them to go through in order to actually use this against me. So I kind of have this sense of like, I'm going to be fine, whatever. It's not a big deal. They can't do anything with it. And obviously they weren't actually doing anything with it, but they were using it. They were using it to threaten me, basically. And so these people from Lloyd's called me, or Lloyd's, and said, I'd entered my details into a fake Royal Mail website, which totally, sparked my memory. I was like, fuck yeah, I did do that shit. I'm calling from Lloyd's. I checked the number and they were. And yeah, your people have basically tried to take out a loan in your. Or do you recognise taking out a loan of like £5,000? And I was like, no, that wasn't a transaction I made. It's like, okay, well, we have actually stopped that because of suspicious activity. But there's no way for us to stop these people taking out more loans in your name, and then if someone takes out a loan in your name, you're liable for the payments, basically. And you won't know that these loans are being taken out in your name because, whatever, it's against your, I don't know, it's out of my control. So that was the sort of threat. It's like, like people are taking loans out in my name and I have no control over them doing that because I entered my name into this Royal Mail website. And so it was all like, shit, okay, how do I stop this? And I'm also really trusting at this point too, like, oh, it's gonna be fine because now Lloyd's are on the case and they're helping me fix this. So I thought they were like helping me fix this situation. And then they basically, and I was like, look, let me call you back. Like I wanted to verify that it was really them. And then they sort of threatened me again, not threatened, but they said, okay, that's fine, but we have to close this case now whilst you're on the phone. We're going to close this, and then you're going to go, there's a waiting time, obviously, and you're going to have to go through that whole process before you can talk to us. And if someone is trying to take out a loan in the meantime, whilst you're in the process of calling us back, we can't protect you from that, basically, and you're liable for those things or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had this like this, it just trapped me in this like, I've got to do one thing or another. Like I've got to like, and I was like, this could be a scam the whole way through. I was like, this might be a scam. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is so suspicious. This is so bad, because they were asking me to transfer my money across into someone else's account, which obviously gave me red flags. And I was like, what the hell? But basically, they trapped me into feeling like I couldn't. I had to. I felt like the reason I did it was I felt like I had to take the risk to stop people taking out loans in my name, because they've just felt like that was like almost like what it was for me is like it felt like that was totally unmitigated. Like if this was a scam that I was like handing my money over to, then that's fine, it ends there. But if it wasn't a scam and there were people taking out money in my name, then like that's just something I don't have any control over. And yeah, so they kind of just cornered me that way. And so I gave them £4,000, because, and then the only reason I sort of like clocked it was because then they asked me to transfer my overdraft across, and I was like, what? Why would that be a thing? You know, to close my account. And I was like, yeah, and I hung up, and then obviously it's called Lloyd's, and they're like, no, it's not true. And you know, so it was, and they were calling me back as well whilst I was on the call to Lloyd's. I think because they wanted they wanted my overdraft. And so I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I fell for that. I can't believe I fell for it. Very upsetting. You know, it's being investigated by Lloyd's. It's being investigated. You know, it was to a TSB bank, and so TSB had to get on the case to it. And I was on the phone to this, you know, fraud prevention woman all day today. And so, yeah, I just feel, yeah, I feel okay. Like I've had to, you know, I processed it a lot, but I think I really wanted to share this because of how intricate and how tricky it was, and how I just, you know, it kind of just showed me like, Jesus, when it's such a sore point for me, because I've only just like fixed my credit. I've had like bad credit for ages, and I've only just started getting back up with that. And I was like, oh my God, like that was the thing I was like really valuing, is like my good credit has been something I've worked on, and I really valued that. And I was so afraid that I was going to lose that and get into more debt. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't go back to being in debt, and I can't go back to being in bad credit. You know, those were the things that really drove the stupid decisions I made. And so, yeah, I just wanted to sort of share that so that other people do not experience that. I then was like, it was really interesting, because then I had this thing of like, I'm going to take this fucking asshole to court. Like, I'm going to follow this through, because the thing with it is that I transferred it to another person's account. And that means there's a person on the other end who's received that money. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even care about losing more money. I'm going to take this person to court. I want to look them in the eye. I want to actually expose them for the fucking asshole they are. And so I was speaking to this fraud prevention woman. I was like, look, I want to, you know, really take this further, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, can't do that, because the person whose account I transferred my money into is also a victim on the other end. Like it's such an intricate scheme that the person on the other end would have been involved in some other scam. And she said it was probably an investment. When you receive money into your account, it's like an investment scam. So if someone says to you, give me $100 or £100 and I will transfer you 4,000 or whatever, you know, which is like an investment thing, that person then trusts that person is legitimate, right? Okay, so like, you know, that sort of like a two-way relationship. So this fraudster has basically frauded someone else. So I've put my money into someone else's account who is actually a victim of fraud as well. So it's like, okay. So then you can see how like insidious it is, and there's like no paper trail. It's like cybercrime, and it's just like, I was just like, wow, that's so intricate and impossible to sort of protect yourself against. No, it's not. Don't give your details out. Don't transfer money into someone else's bank account. That's the way you protect yourself from it. But I guess the main moral is, it's like, don't feel threatened by your bank, essentially. And I'm quite annoyed with myself for for falling for that. I felt like, I feel like I'm better than that. Like, I feel like I'm quite switched on to these types of things. I've nearly fallen for a HMRC scam before, which actually Dan Holloway saved me from. He was like, hang up the phone, Caroline. I was like, oh, okay, great. And so I was annoyed. I'm annoyed with myself because I felt like, I feel very skeptical of people. I'm really, I looked at the phone conversation. I was on the phone to them for 2 hours. I was grilling them. Like, I was so scared. In my head, I was like, this is a scam. I need to, and I was like coming at it at so many angles because I really, really, really wanted to verify his identity. And I felt like I couldn't, if I came off the phone to him, I wouldn't be able to verify his identity. That's how he made me feel. And so that's just to sort of say to people, like, just my experience. So if anyone calls you from a number, just because it's a number, it doesn't mean that they're legitimate, right? If they call you from a number from a bank or from Royal Mail or from whatever, that doesn't verify their identity, and it doesn't mean that they're, safe to transfer money to. Also, yeah, like, I don't know what else. Another thing is that's basically the thing that really got me, is that I felt like it was legit because they were calling me from a Lloyd's TSB, a Lloyd's bank account number. I guess the next thing I want to sort of address is like how I've approached it and how I've handled it and how I've dealt with it afterwards, which has been refreshing for me and positive for me because, and only, like, it's almost like if this had happened to me at a different time, it would have been such a catastrophe and I would have been in such a worse place. I really struggle in terms of organising my finances. That's something I've always had an issue with. Like, I can, I've been able to make money for a while and I've been doing okay, but I really struggle to like figure out and plan for things. Like, I very, very, very much struggle with that, and it gives me incredible amounts of anxiety when I don't unexpected expenses really throw me off because I can't orient myself onto a path. And last Friday, I was like, okay, I need to fix this because this is a pain. I need to know what my expenses are. I need to know all my money. So I put together a finance sheet just to say like what my outgoings were, like every single month for the next year. So I know, okay, this is how much at a bare minimum I have to have in my bank account every month just to sort of survive, right? And that gave me insane levels of relief. And so I can account for it. Like, I know now how this losing, not that I can afford to lose £4,000, but I can see how I can recover from it and I can fit it in with my plan. And it's like, okay, that's positive. And it's like one of those things where it's like I'm being proactive, like it's happened. It's so frustrating, but having addressed things like my anxiety around planning and money and stuff like that has enabled me to go, okay, I can absorb this and still be okay. And literally, I think if this had happened this time last week, I would have like melted because I wouldn't have known what to do because I didn't know how to sort out my finances or how to prepare for it, and I would have just been in such a bad place. Next step is like picking up on gratitude. I've been like, wow, do you know what? I'm so glad this happened to me. Well, not glad it happened to me, but I'm glad it happened to me and not my mum or not my nan and not, other people who are way more vulnerable than me. I'm very, very fortunate that at the moment, I can never afford to lose that £4,000, but I'm okay. I will be okay right now. Like I've got a little bit of a runway. Well, I had a runway, which was a luxury I afforded to myself by working hard and making my business successful. I gave myself a runway. Basically, my runway has been taken out. So my luxury has been taken away from me, and that's not ideal. But I'm very fortunate that I had that runway. I'm very fortunate that I'm not on the breadline. And I'm just like, I feel so sad for people that experience this who don't have the runway that I have. Like, I just think, oh God, like, it must ruin lives. Like, it must ruin lives. I'm so fortunate, and so I had to, I've been practicing some gratitude today. Like, one thing that I know, like, so for instance, here's an interesting fact. I think this around these numbers, I could be wrong, but if you earn more than $30,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of earners in the world, right? And obviously, and if I think half of the world's population are on less than one are living on less than $1 a day. So I have to look at I'm looking at my circumstances in perspective. I'm like, some people can't even imagine what it's like to have £4,000 in their bank account. Like, that is, in the world, in a global standard, probably a lot of money to have in a bank account. So I'm like, you know what, like, I'm still such a fortunate person. Like, I'm very grateful for the life that I've got, that I am even able to be scammed for that money, like, that's something I'm sort of like going, okay, I've got to be humble here. Like, I'm in a fortunate position to absorb this, and there are so many people that are way worse off even after I've been scammed. I'm still okay, and there are people that aren't okay before anything bad happens to them. They're just not okay, and I'm very, very fortunate. So I'm practicing gratitude about that. And also, today I found out, like, I think India's been hit really, really hard with COVID, and today is, like, since this whole pandemic started, the most amount of COVID cases ever, like something like that today, happening. And in England, it's really simmering down. It's really like coming to, like, it feels like everything's kind of going back to normal because we're on top of our shit with the vaccine, and cases are dropping so much, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so fortunate to be in a first world country, especially England, where that is taken care of for me. And it's just a luck of the dice that I got to be that person, to be born here, and to be able to benefit from that. So I've gone totally off topic for the subject of this, but basically it's given me a lot of things to be grateful for, which is really strange. It's given me gratitude about my mindset, because I'm not feeling total despair or anxiety, or I don't feel hopeless about the situation. And a week ago, I would have done. And also, if this was last year, Jesus Christ, I would have completely crumbled. Like, a year ago, this would have just absolutely dismantled my emotional well-being. And if it had been the year before that, I think I would have been put in an insane asylum. I'm not even joking. I would not have been able to handle this 2 years ago. So I was flooded with gratitude that, holy shit, I can take that now. Like, I can take that. And that was such a nice experience for me to be able to say that. And so basically, that where I'm going with that is just that I've been flooded out of a negative situation, having worked on my shit, having worked on my mindset, having addressed, mood issues that I have, like with anxiety and depression, having addressed those things and really taken a lot of time to heal and fix those things, it's meant that I'm so much more at peace with what has happened. And I guess that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? That's the ultimate goal. And maybe this is just a test, like, how can I know that I've really grown and I've really developed inner peace and inner strength without shit hitting the fan? And I guess that's maybe what it is. It's like, firstly, I've got to have some humility that I'm not too smart to be scammed, and there is some narcissism in me where I maybe think of myself as too smart for that kind of shit, and also, you can't fully know your own personal strength, or if you've grown in something, unless you're tested. And today I got tested. Well, yesterday I got tested anyway. And I'm really proud of myself for how I handled it and how I've dealt with it and how I've coped with it. And it's shown me that the amount that I've worked on myself has really paid off. Except, obviously, my wits they weren't serving me too well yesterday, but at least my emotional state and my mindset and my hard work, it really served me yesterday, and it's serving me today. And it's probably why I'm able to create this rather than curl up in a ball and call. I would probably have called Dan Holloway and be like, "Wow, what do I do?" And or people and just cried for help, But I feel much more empowered. So, firstly, on a just a legit level, like someone can call you from a number that is about, anyone can call you from any, like there's what they told me about it is there's things that enable people to change their number to anything, and these are very readily available apps or software that enables you to do that. So just because someone calls you from a legitimate number, it does not mean that's their authority. Yeah, so that's the main thing. I think that was the main thing that I wanted to sort of focus in on, because I think that if it had been a number that wasn't legitimate, that I would never have trusted them. That was where the trust came from. So really, really don't fall for that. And also, working on your mindset fucking pays off. It pays off. And so focus on it. Whatever struggles you have, just focus on it. Mine was, I used to get anxiety, still do sometimes, around money and planning. And the fact that I've dealt with that has meant that this is something that's so much more manageable for me. And so I'm, and also grateful for your position. Feel grateful for like the shit you don't have to deal with is like infinitely large, right? That, I could be in a way worse position. So there's some gratitude for that as well. So I just kind of wanted to share that, all that information. Don't get stung. Work on your mindset and feel grateful. That's basically the message of today's live. I'm also feeling a bit peaky because I was like, I'm having wine. So I had some wine yesterday, and so now I feel a bit bleh. But, that's better than despair. So I'll take it. I hope this is somewhat helpful for people, and I hope that you're able to, recover from any shit that you go through as well. My friend told me that she went through it and she cried for days, and I was like, that's so shit. So yeah, that's basically it. Hope this was useful for you guys. That's all.